And we are back. What's good? Welcome to the channel. Today I'm bringing you more than just the mill.
You haven't seen your dad in years.
Hey, today might be the day. You came back from the store!
That's right, I am bringing you an updated Paradox Rift tier list. We are taking a look at all of the picks Brandon got wrong. We are chopping out all the decks that have no business being here. And we are going to give you a very condensed, short and sweet tier list, what you should be looking at playing, what you should be steering away from, and what's kind of the practice stack, what you need the reps for before you start to see the results you might want with it. So if you enjoyed today's content, be sure to let me know what I did right, what I did wrong. And with that said, let's take a look at today's tier list. So you might notice something a little different from my usual tier list. There's no S, there's no 1, 2, 3. No, we are taking something a little bit different. There is no BDIF this format. There is, however.
The claw is our master.
So if you don't know, you will know. Leagues above the bestest crab. What's not to like? Cloth Boy got it all. He's rocking it. He's sitting top of today's tier list. But for the rest of the peasants that don't quite make the cloth tier, where did things fall? So we did chop out a lot of the fluff. So your Garchomps, your Regielekis, I'm sorry they didn't quite make it. They're not going to see enough play, or they haven't really for them to be included in today's tier list. If you don't like my opinion, be sure to tell me how wrong I am in the comments below. I'm here for a good discussion. And if you just really hate my videos and they keep getting recommended for you, let me know that as well, because I think that's hilarious that people keep getting my content and really don't like it. But with that said, let's take a look at the tier. So we have top tier. These are the dogs that you will see a 10% or greater in the Paradox Rift meta. These are good picks. These are great decks to learn. These are great decks to run if you're looking for championship points, or you're just looking to be a menace on the play limitless tournament circuit. Those are great. Scammer.
I think I'm about to steal!
These ones feel like cheating without cheating. They play so unfairly, they feel just disgusting to pair up against, and you're looking for the sleaziest methods to take wins from your opponent.
I called for help twice, and not a "F you, what do you need," or nothing.
You're not out here to make friends with this deck. These are the scammers, and these are the ones that you will make more enemies, or you will be sitting in the corner.
I'm in danger.
Solid choice. They're not quite top tier. They're maybe 3, 4, 5%. They're good decks, but they're not going to see the play to really catapult them into top tier. Takes a good pilot. These are the decks where when they say go home, do your homework, practice, you got to really know your lines, you got to know what you're doing. Those are the decks that when the magic happens, because the chef or the pilot knows exactly what they're doing, they can run circles around you if they know the matchups inside and out. But they look like dumpster fires if you don't know what the hell you're doing. And then last but not least, this is the
Stop it. Get some help.
I don't like playing Pokemon. I'm here to make my life miserable. Get help tier. You're playing this deck for God knows why. And if you're playing any of these decks, please let me know why. I can't quite figure it out. With that said, let's dive right in. So nobody comes close to cloth tier. So the first scammer we have is Iron Valiant Entei. This deck looks to take advantage of all the underhanded tactics, the Tachyon bits. We're looking to knock out as many Charmanders and Raltses and Frigibacks and Comfeys before your opponent even has the chance to play the game. Oh, they start with one Pokemon in the active? Yeah, no, we're going to knock them out before they have a chance to play. Oh, they're going to go wide on their board and put a 2-prize liability in play? Oh, well, Entei's going to beat that down with Magma Basin and Jet Energies. It is the cheesiest deck in format, and created the scammer tier, which may or may not persist going into future formats. The next scammer, using underhanded tactics that has the community in outrage and demanding its ban after its regional win, Snorlax Stall. This deck is about as fun as watching paint dry. If you enjoy this deck, you are definitely going into the tournament with no friends, or you're leaving the tournament with no friends, because you are here to not mess around and hope that they do not respect you. All your underhanded tactics, all your dastardly deeds, Snorlax is here to ruin people's days, block your path, and try to sneak its way into top cut. I don't imagine it wins any more regionals this format, but if we forget about it, that boogeyman will be lurking in the background. All right, so enough of the scammers for now. let's talk about Takes a Good Pilot. So now we're circling back to previous videos on the channel. If you want to see it, be sure to go check. We did cover a Lost Box Kyogre. This is the definition of the deck needs a strong, competent, well-practiced pilot. When they know what their deck wants to do and they know every scenario inside and out, they can make magic happen. It is fantastic to watch. If you're picking up the deck for the first time, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to make some blunders. Don't worry, there's an hour-long guide on the channel that is still pretty much unchanged that you can use as a picking up point. Because Kyogre is still here, there's not enough Terra Pokemon, as I initially expected, to really worry about Kyogre. Plus, we have TM Devolution. You want to get underhanded and maybe bump it up to scammer territory. Then, we have another Takes a Good Pilot. Whether you're pairing it with the Lost Zone and pulling off a Tord and just binder dropping, or if you're doing the Ice Rider build that we saw top 4. Palkia is such a good and well-designed card. Subspace Swell, 260 full benches on the side, 3 energy off an ability. If you know what you're building towards, and if you have the exact game plan in mind and how you're going to take things apart, I think Palkia is a terrific pick. But you can't just pick it up and go, oh, this is going to be good, because there's plenty of things to pair it with. And if you reach for the wrong way at the wrong time, then you're not going to win and it's going to feel like a dumpster pile. But Palkia is just one of those great cards. I love playing Palkia. You can't convince me otherwise. I think it's the best designed V-Star and it lends itself to some very flexible deck building. All right, enough of my love of. First up, Just Stop, Get Help. Regigang, why are you playing this deck in 2023? I know we have Earth and Vessel. I know we have this. There's, you're hitting some decent types. There's no grass, Reggie. So Charizard that's seeing almost 20% play, you're not hitting that. What are you doing? You're trying to take advantage of a lot of moving parts. I find this deck has some clunky hands, and that's coming from a Giratina stan. Let me know in the comments below. I can't figure it out, guys. I just can't get into your mind. I need to know. All right, the first flop. Chien-Pao. So those two scammers right there is why Chien-Pao is doing terribly. So I thought it was the Frigibaxes, the Iron Hands, the Cross Switchers, the Pokestops. It has a lot of tools in the kit. But when you're running a 60 hit point Pokemon, that could be Yoga Loop, just really set up, or you put a lot of awful Pokemon in the active that Block Lax just deals with. Chien-Pao is nowhere to be seen. All right, another Get Help. Both of the Lugias. For the same reasons, Charizard is very, very strong, very good. Lugia never had a clean answer to hit 330 unless it was hitting for weakness. So Iron Hands, you have to do some Tempest Dive, Amp You Very Much shenanigans. Trying to 2-hit something that can very clearly 1-hit KO you is not a fun way to play the game. Then if you miss your Archeops turn 2, or they path your Summoning Star, or if they apply more pressure than you're ready for, Lugia just doesn't get into it. Does it like seeing some of these scammers? Yeah, it really does. But then when you look at the top dogs in the format, which I'll have to talk about in a moment, Lugia just struggles. And then, of course, Single Strike, I think your better days are behind you. Have I seen some decks perform well in the Play Limitless Best of 1? Yes. But sometimes I wonder if TCG Live just fixes your hands, just to give you that little bit of dopamine to feel better. So enough hate for Lugia, because I am secretly playing it in the background. So, 2 more. There's a lot of Lost Box variants you could be playing, and these 2 here, I am sorry, they're just not quite there. I have finally come to terms that Lost Zone Charizard EX is poorly positioned. If you're picking it up, you're in for a bad time. You're fighting the awful start of a no abyss-seeking Charizard deck. You are deciding if you want the Radiant Zard, or you want the Moonlight Shuriken, or the Conceal cards. Like, what do you want? Goodra has so many things that can just break through Rolling Iron. I think right now, the game is too fast for them. There's too many things going on. The Ionos, the Judges, the Path to the Peak. You're fighting through the consistency issues of a Lost Box deck, as well as cards that don't really get into the game until mid to late. And some of your best matchups, being Lugia or Chien-Pao, they're not seeing play. What are you aiming to hit? You play enough Switch cards, but if Lax hits a couple Fortune Sisters, Scammer's gonna scam. So enough of those. I'm sorry, I love those. I do play them from time to time, but I don't expect to win. Any win you get with those decks is kind of a luxury. Are you rogue decking it, day 2ing with either of these decks, and I'm completely wrong? Let me know. All right, top dog. Charizard Pidgeot. This is the type of deck that you would see playing at the highest rate or second highest rate from now until April. People love Charizard. Pokemon Company loves showcasing Charizard. Right now it is very strong. It has a very good scaling damage attack. And Pidgeot being able to quick search with very little Path to the Peak in format, it runs away with games. It has Forest Seal Stone. It has quick search. It has Infernal Rain. Once the board is up and going, Charizard is fine. Can it have some issues with these two? Absolutely. We watched Snorlax steal games from Charizard. But I think if they tech a little bit for them, they're fine. Whether it's Turo, whether it's Jet Energy or Minior or Escape Ropes or Switches, you name it. I think they could be fine. Obviously, it can't hold a candle to Cloth, but nothing can really keep up with Cloth. Next up, we have Miraidon Flaffy. So this would be your third or fourth most played deck. Miraidon has won the international championships this format. It has won regionals. Flaffy gives it some power. Iron Hands allows you to uptrade on one prize Pokemon. You have Path to the Peak. You have your electricity generators. When the deck is rolling, it is very strong. It's a basic deck, so it requires a lot less than many of these decks on the list, regardless of where they're placed. The Dawn has a chance to steal any event, and I will be keeping an eye on it. It is top 3, top 4 decks in format. Still struggles into Cloth, though. Can't keep up with the Cloth. All right, Gardevoir. This one at the start of the format felt like an almost S-tier BDIF, and then the hype died off. Did people win tournaments with it? Yes. I think Gardevoir is so well refined, draws a ton of cards, plays so well into the comeback mechanics the Pokemon Company's been pitching for us. We have the counter catchers. You have the new Scream Tail, so you can snipe things on the bench and strand things. We have Avery, so we can make them through some very tough decisions. Turo's scenario means they can't gun down a Gardevoir EX if you don't want it on the board. A good Gardevoir player can show you some magic. The deck is very strong. Shining Arcana is going to go out on top or near top, and it'll usually be the first or second most played deck in the format until somebody comes up with a magical Gardevoir killer counter, because I think Charizard, Miraidon, and Gardevoir will just constantly swap places for the most played decks in the format and most played decks in online events. Skilled Pilot. Goldingo has plenty of online best of one placings. I think that people are still figuring it out. I don't know if its success will translate in a best of 3 speedy format like we're in, but a good pilot can clearly show in a best of 1 format that it can do well. So Make It Rain, Raikou, Scizor, you name it, Bobero, Curlia, whatever. I'm going to cover a video on the channel eventually talking Goldingo. Guilty Pleasure deck, it's Baby Blounds, but it's metal, and who knows what's coming with the next wave of Paradox Pokemon. Zoro, this is your time to shine. This is a good pilot. You know how to plan for your Slowbro, your winning attack where they have 1 prize left, you take 2, and your reversal energies are just getting stronger and stronger, and you can recycle and spam, and there's not as much Lost City to worry about. You can hit Charizard with a Grass Attacker, which is kind of funny. The two-headed one, you know what I'm talking about. You deal with too much of Charizard, you can tech for it. You deal with too much Miraidon, you can tech for it. The body is there, and then you fill it out based on what you need. I've seen these types of decks dismantle the scammers. Am I going to say, yes, let's put you in the solid choice. I think Zoroark is going to enjoy its first time in the spotlight after 2.5 years of legality, and it's going to go out on a high note. People look back at it and be like, oh, those first 2 years don't mean anything because it went out well. All right, next up on the Scammer Central, we are looking at Inteleon Urshifu. This deck does what Entei Iron Valiant does, but I've also seen people utilize the Irvin engine. So you can grab TM Evolution, you can grab VIP Path, you can get those Octilleries out of harm's way. You can go up from Remoraid to Octillery and get your VMAXs too big that Entei can't deal with you. I've seen people tech in the 1 copy of Psychic Energy so Snorlax can't get you. You can Yoga Loop all of these small Pokemon. You hit Miraidon for weakness. You still struggle into Cloth because Cloth is just an animal. It can reach up to 300 damage if it has to. It doesn't matter. Cloth just can't be stopped. But this deck is surprisingly well positioned because it does unfair things. Yoga Loop is really just kind of getting warped and broken with VIP Pass and Squawkabilly and your turn for supporter, and the fact that you have double turbo or rapid strike. You can also Melanie to it. You can also Thornton to it. Double Gunner, Yoga Loop, and Gmax Rapid Flow. It is very, very good. It would be in my top 5. Like it is a dirty deck. It is dirty deeds done cheap. All right. So solid choice. We are rocking Roaring Moon. So this deck is kind of underperformed. It does, however, keep some decks honest. Pales in comparison to Cloth because Electro can deal with it. Cloth can knock it out. You can just frenzy gouging those Charizards. You can Calamity slash Storm. Really anything bigger. You hit Gardevoir. Entei Valiant struggles into you because you play your switch cards. You play your booster capsules. You have a lot. I don't think people have figured this one out. Maybe it's being played incorrectly, but it's a strong deck. Like, you just go fast. I'm enjoying it with Palkia. If you want to see more on that one, let me know. You're going to go fast. You're going to win fast. You're going to lose fast. It's a good time. Here is the last one in our top tier. So it might be the Lost Box preference talking, but I think Giratina walks into the room and goes, I can handle anything. As long as my opening hand is not a brick, there's not a deck I don't want to see. You have Countercatcher, you have Roxanne, you have Path to the Peak. The 3 best card combo in format. You have Abyss Seeking that most Lost Box decks don't have, so when those decks are trying to take advantage of your small Comfeys, you don't have to play them because you still have Abyss Seeking, you still have Colress, and then you have an instant knockout Star Requiem. I feel like it's the hand in a bunch of different cookie jars kind of deck that as long as it has drawn well, it is in the game, and it's one that I can't find myself putting down. It is not going anywhere when rotation hits. We'll lose Escape Rope, that's about it. VIP Pass. Oh no, now you get to play Ultra Balls and search out your V-Stars a little easier. There's my Giratina bias. That's my top tier. Pick these up, learn them, you're in for a good time. If you want to see any of them that's not already on the channel, please let me know. They're pretty much rotation proof too. All right, next up in the scammers list. This one, I was so wrong. So wrong. Just when I thought Mew was dead, just when I thought it was time to put the Drapions and the Spiritombs away, Double Turbo Mew is out here reinventing itself. I've seen Excelgor, I've seen TM Devolution. I have seen it pair with Charizard. There are some weird-ass combinations going around with Mew, and just because they attack with Double Turbo and draw a metric ton of cards, it just lends itself. It does dirty things it shouldn't be allowed to do. Fusion Strike system feels like a cheat code. Deluxe Ray, again, I've mentioned a few things. I don't know how this deck keeps winning, and it steals events. I would not be surprised if it steals a regional, the Double Turbo variant. And then, by proxy, we are putting Fusion Mew in there, because again, it is piggybacking off of all of the strengths, all of the filthiness, whether you're playing a grass package, whether you're playing Ice Q or Deoxys. Mew isn't going anywhere as people put their techs away, and Charizard is not a guarantee. Right now, they're playing pretty aggressively, so if you Path to the Peak, sometimes they just brick and never get into the game. Or if you play Avery and tear apart their bench, they can't really get into the game. It has a chance, as long as it's not being respected, to take every single game from any opponent. And I feel like that right there puts it into scammer territory. All right, solid choice. This is my guilty pleasure deck at the moment, so my bias again is showing, but it's my list. I'll do what I want. Arvanzard with the Evolution TM. So a lot of decks can counter many of these at the top with Path to the Peak. I got sick and tired of not being able to use my Charizard, or having to desperately rely on that turn 2 candy and never finding it. So being able to set up a wide board, not put a 2-prizer into play until I'm ready, and then give up a prize, and then start to mount my comeback through my counter catchers, my Ionos, you name it, and my Lost Cities. I've been enjoying Arvanzard. The only deck giving me fit are some of the scammers, but if they miss a beat, because they're a lie, they're not real decks, then you can pretty much claw your way back with everything. It's probably 1.5 tier 2. Solid choices are good picks. And then the last one on the list, of course, Sablezard. So whether you're playing it with Roaring Moon, without Roaring Moon, I've seen a few ways to build it. It is a solid choice. It definitely takes a good pilot, but if you're even slightly competent with how to play the Lost Box or play the Lost Zone engine, again, I've put 3 videos on the channel. If you would love to deep dive and go check those out, and really help the channel out, because they give you a very in-depth guide on how to play Lost Box. It's why I've gravitated to the deck so much. So you have 250 on your Combustion Blast, you have your Roaring Moon for instant KOs, you have your Devo TMs, you have Sableye. I don't see enough decks teching Jirachi yet for you to be like, oh no, I have to put the deck down. But that's the video. If you enjoyed today's list and today's approach, let me know in the comments below. Shoutouts to the one and only Cloth. It may not be the best deck in format, but Cloth, you are the people's champ. You're crushing it. And until next time, guys, take care, have fun, and don't let yesterday ruin today.